For fans of tokusatsu, and especially fans of tokusatsu toys, the Tokyo Toy Show last night gave us a look at a lot of really cool upcoming stuff for Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Ultraman, including the debut of the first entry in the Complete Style Gigantic line, a subsection of the Kamen Rider Complete Selection Modification line, and all of this carried over to this morning with the full reveal of the SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Black Sun. So we have a lot of really cool things to discuss from the show last night. A lot of really cool Kamen Rider items are coming up, and some Sentai stuff that we didn't quite know about, and also some Sentai stuff that we most certainly did, but we got to see some more first looks at it. So let's go ahead and talk about all these brand new tokusatsu toys. Starting with Super Sentai, we had a really big display of Dawn Brothers merchandise, specifically for Dawn Goku, which of course is the Sixth Ranger who just debuted in the show in this past weekend's episode, or at least transformed for the first time in this past weekend's episode. So all of his stuff was on full display, which some of it is starting to be released here in Japan. We had Gear Set 5 released a couple weeks ago, and his Changer and his Change series figures and his Alters, I believe, all come out in Japan this current weekend. So the only thing that's really not out for him just yet is his actual weapon for his Dawn Tour Bolt form, because that's not coming out until July, but even that was on display here to just show off everything that his merchandise can do. They had people that were actually there on the floor to demo, the spinner with the spear and all this other stuff, and have the Six Ranger gears on display, and all these really cool things, especially like combinations of the Alters, which we've already seen pictures of these, of course, with like combining with the Ninja Alter, but I think that this looks really, really cool, like just this whole dragon with these like shuriken blades on it and everything like that. It definitely looks really cool. Now we actually at the show got our full reveal of what is going to be in the third set of Candy Toy Avataro gears, which is actually going to be pretty good. It's going to be a pretty good, interesting set, with a vast majority of the set being actual exclusives, or at least for right now, exclusives to the Candy Toy line. There's only one repeat gear from any other toy line, and that is going to be the Dawn Goku Alter gear, which we did just recently get in set 5 in the Deluxe toy line. But the rest of the set is going to have Goggle 5, Flash Man, Mask Man, 5-Man, Go-Go 5, and Kyoryu Gold, which is very, very interesting. So we have a couple more Sentai that we didn't have our Avataro gears for just yet, which really narrows it down to how many more we still need. We only need like 4 more or so to actually complete like the core 45 or core 46, I guess, of the main Sentai, or 47, I guess, with Lupin Ranger, Pata Ranger. But speaking of that, also, we have Alters for a ton of the Sentai that we just didn't have the Alter gears for. Pretty much every single Sentai we didn't have Alter gears for that we know there's sounds for Alters in the Dawn Blaster, because we know that the Dawn Blaster only has sounds for Alters between Gokaiger and his Zenkaiger, as well as Go Ranger and like a special Alter sound. So we have in this set the Gokaiger Alter, Go Buster's Alter, the Lupin Ranger and Pata Ranger Alters, and the Zenkaiger Alters. So very interesting that all of these are pretty much just being knocked out in one singular Candy Toy set, because you would think maybe they would want to sprinkle them into a couple more deluxe sets, or pack them in with Change Hero figures or something like that. But it kind of makes it implied that possibly the Ninja Alter will be the last like deluxe one to come with like a Change Hero series figure and everything. We've already seen the Lupin Ranger and Pata Ranger Alters be released as mini plot exclusives, so we could be seeing that going forward with some of these other Alters that we're going to be getting. We know that the Kyoryuger Alter is going to be an exclusive to Gashapon Set 3 this month, so that does complete all of the Senpaiger Alters of Gokaiger through Zenkaiger. So not really sure what this means for the future of Change Hero Alters, or just Alters in general, but they definitely are just kind of blazing through them here. But going back to that Kyoryu Gold gear, that is our first Sixth Ranger gear to be released outside of Dawn Goku's like merchandise and set 5 of the gears and everything. Now I'm very excited about this, because as much as I really like the look of the Avataro gears, I really, really like the idea of getting 6 Ranger ones, even though they're all going to function the same as like the regular red ones, because we already know from like actually testing them out in like the Dawn Blaster, and also of course the Geartlinger and everything. Like for example, the Dragon Ranger gear just works as a Tyranno Ranger gear, or like any of the other G-Ranger gears that we have. So the only toy that's really going to be able to like read these as their 6th will be like actually the weapon that Dawn Bolt uses. Seemingly so. It looks like that one will at least have sounds or finisher attacks for at least the Senpaiger 6th, so Gokaiger through Zenkaiger. Now, I don't know if we're going to get any more 6th beyond that. Now, obviously, it's also going to work for Tiger Ranger and Dragon Ranger, since they're so heavily being promoted alongside Dandoro Goku, but we have no idea if we're going to get any more 6th between Kiba Ranger, or did I call him Tiger Ranger earlier, between Kiba Ranger and Kyoryu Gold, but we now know for at least a good fact we are getting Kyoryu Gold, and you can probably have a pretty safe bet that we're going to get everybody else from Gokaiger through Zenkaiger. But also for Sentai, and speaking of gears, on display was a fully painted prototype of the Memorial Edition Geartlinger. So we'd already seen this before, it just wasn't like fully like stickered up or, you know, looking how it will kind of look in the finished product, and wow, this thing looks incredible. You can see the die-cast Sentai gear that we're going to be getting with it, or at least one of them, the Zenkaiser one, and kind of just a comparison, because the gears, as far as we're aware, is the same size as all of the Sentai gears we had last year. So if you have a Sentai gear, you can kind of sort of get a gauge or kind of get a feel for how big the actual upscaled Memorial Edition Geartlinger is going to be, and I'm even more excited for this thing now. It definitely looks very impressive in size. It definitely looks a lot more show accurate in size as well, which of course we already knew that coming from this toy. But yeah, I'm pretty hyped for this. And then moving over to Kamen Rider, they had everything you would want. They have a new line of vinyl figures coming out for some reason, because I guess we just have to release some of the more popular riders as vinyl figures every couple of years or months or whatever. You remember those, like, you know, like those acrylic logo stands that they make 1 billion of? Now you can get them as like rubber keychains. There's like these light up like wall decor things. Bunch of just random Kamen Rider stuff, but not random Kamen Rider stuff is what we had on the Revice display, which pretty much had the entire Vice Stamp toy line on display, including like special promotional bonus ones and Candy Toy campaign ones and everything like that, which also, speaking of, there was also the Candy Toy campaign Avataro gears on display over at the Dawn Brothers booth, just to promote that those are going to be coming out soon. But besides that, we do actually have our first look at a brand new Revice toy that is technically not been announced yet. I mean, it's obviously been at this show, so like that's sort of an announcement, but it's not gone up for pre-order or anything like that yet. It wasn't a toy that we knew was coming. Kind of, like, you could make the good assumption that this was coming, but we had no idea that it was going to happen maybe exactly at this time, and that is the deluxe Vail Endriver, which finally is getting a toy release. Confirmed for sure, at least I'm sure that it will actually get released from this show. This isn't like a Tamashi show where they're going to show off figure arts that they're never going to release. We're actually going to get the Vail Driver somehow. I didn't actually know that this was called the Vail Endriver, which makes me kind of curious, because that pun works for the Weekend Driver, you know, the repainted the Libero one that Aguilera uses. But, like, I didn't know that the Vail Driver also was called an End Driver, so that's, I think, kind of interesting. Of course, we can see here that it comes with the Hercules Vice Stamp, just as you would expect it to come with. And you can also kind of see it on display next to the Kuwagata, like, Vice Stamp that Over Demons uses, because we know that that's coming out in the set 3 of the Complete Selection stamps, or whatever they're called. So, it's interesting that we have this here. Now, one thing about the Vail Driver is that we also should have known this was coming, because there's this one toy retailer, I think they're from Malaysia or something like that, which I guess is not just good for Lightning Collection leagues, obviously. So this is one retailer that talks about some like upcoming Tokusatsu toys, and usually has a pretty good track record of being able to like leak accurate information. And they posted on their Facebook page last month that the Vail Driver was going to be coming sometime this month with 2 Vice Stamps, seemingly some kind of power-up one or something like that. We don't see 2 Vice Stamps on display here, but it's possible that one is just not being shown for potential spoiler reasons or something. We do have those pictures of what looks to be some sort of mass-produced Demons Rider or something that it has not appeared in the show just yet, because that was filming pictures from a couple weeks ago. So it's possible maybe we're expecting that stamp to be also packed in with the Vail Driver or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but maybe we could expect 2 stamps. That we could also potentially expect the Vail Driver to go for pre-order this weekend. They like to announce Premium Bandai stuff at the end of the weeks, but it's kind of hard to say if it's actually going to pan out or not. But regardless, we are getting a toy of the Vail Driver, so if you were worried about that not existing, it's going to happen. And now we got something real big, literally, and this is the brand new expansion to the Complete Selection Modification line, the Complete Style Gigantic line. So when this was first teased last week, we knew that we were going to get more solid details about it this current week, and it was definitely already implied that it's going to be some kind of Kamen Rider item of some sort. Now, pretty much everybody guessed this is probably just going to be full-size weapons, isn't it? And yeah, seemingly so. So, the first entry in this brand new line, which is basically just an extension of Complete Selection Modification, but instead of doing belts and gimmick items and all that kind of stuff, we're going to do full-size replicas, which the Complete Selection Modification line is already kind of dabbled in. We've had, like, Blade's Rouser was released in, like, a full capacity. Kaisa's sword got, like, a big full release. So they've done, like, big swords and stuff like that in CSM before. But now we're going to have our own dedicated line for it. We're just going to kick off with the Titan Sword from Kamen Rider Kuga. Definitely a very interesting one to start out with, but I think it's, like, one of the first sword weapons in Rider. I know we have like the Revel Cane from Black RX and stuff like that, but a lot of the Showa Riders fought with more hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't really until the Heisei era that we got like all these weapons and stuff that they could sell as toys. And Kuga's Titan Sword is kind of one of the first like sword toy weapons, kind of, you know, sort of kind of like one of the more mainstream ones, or like more traditional modern weapons for Kamen Rider. So I think that's maybe why they picked this one. It's still kind of a random weird choice that I never would have expected for them to just randomly be like, here's Titan form sword, but hey, it looks amazing and it is huge. It definitely lives up to that name, gigantic. And it's also going to have pieces for it to become the rising version of it, so whenever he's in rising Titan form. So that's really cool. Now, the big question, how much it's going to cost? We don't quite know yet, so it's not out for pre-order just yet. It's not going to go for pre-order until June 28th in Japan, which is when we will actually know the release date and the full price and everything. But what is good, at least, is that we do know, we have a heads up already from Team Kamen Rider that it is going to be getting a US release, which is usually a pretty good amount cheaper than the Japanese release, and Toku Collectibles is going to, I'm sure, offer both versions of that. So even if it's extremely expensive, at least the American option will probably make it not as bad, but we still don't exactly know how much it's going to cost, and we won't find out for about a little over a week or so. And then this morning we got our first look, or kind of the full detailed look, at the SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Black Sun, which also, alongside with it, they showed off another trailer for Black Sun, which had a little bit more footage than the one that we saw this past weekend, which if you guys did not see my video talking about the new Black Sun trailer, that will be popping up as a card right now. Be sure to check that out. It was really, really good. Now, we've already seen this Figuarts like prototype back in like November when it was just like a solid black molded figure, but now we actually have like a fully painted prototype of it. We have like a bunch of different promo shots. Now this is going to be going out for pre-order pretty soon. It is going to be a retail release, except for one version. I think that's an Amazon Japan exclusive or something, which makes sense because the show is going to be airing there too, which comes with like a special base stand thing and everything. So if you guys would like to get your hands on a Kamen Rider Black Sun, that should be going for pre-order sometime soon, and if there was a date, I will be putting it up on the screen somewhere here so you guys can check that out. And then, of course, there was also a little bit of Ultraman toys on display, but I don't really cover Ultraman toys on the channel too much. Every time I have, people don't really seem to care. But Ultraman Decker is premiering here soon, so we got kind of a look at the D-Flasher and some of the other stuff and some of the cards that Decker's going to use, and just some random Ultraman, like, action figure lines, this weird, like, knockoff-looking Lego thing of Belial, which I don't really know what's going on there, and just some other random stuff. But there was a lot of stuff at this Tokyo Toy Show, and I'm going to be leaving a link to it in the description below from like the main blog that I featured all this stuff from, that a lot of the pictures came from, which is kind of just has a nice comprehensive thing, as well as like a bunch of other stuff that Bandai showed off that has nothing to do with Tokusatsu, so I wasn't going to cover it here today, nor do I really even know what it is. So I think there was like some Digimon bracelet thing, the Vital Brace thing got some kind of upgrade or something, but I know like nothing about that. So if you guys would like to check out more about that, be sure to check out the article in the description below. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about everything I talked about here today, especially the Complete Style Gigantic line. What entries would you guys like to see enter this? So, you know, big full-scaled Kamen Rider replicas or for weapons, which is a really cool idea. It has just, I mean, it opens the floodgates to so many interesting ideas that this line actually is able to take off. And what do you think of us finally getting the Vail Driver? What do you think of the contents of Candy Toy Set 3 of the Avataro gears? And anything else I discussed here, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LiveRangerKey or at LandFigPR, and I'll see you all next time.